the crimson mystery. For as long as humans have looked up at the night sky, they have been captivated and sometimes terrified by the appearance of a red moon. Its eerie glow has sparked legends, stirred superstitions, and provoked awe in every corner of the world. To the ancients it was a divine warning. To astronomers it is a rare celestial event. To modern science it remains an atmospheric phenomenon with complex causes. Yet, beneath all these interpretations lies a deeper mystery, one that defies conventional explanation. What if the red moon isn't just a trick of light or a shadow cast by Earth? What if it holds a story far older and far stranger than we've been told? In this journey, we'll explore the myths, the facts, the science, and the speculation. We'll delve into ancient tablets and modern physics. We'll analyze eclipses, ancient prophecies, and hidden frequencies. We'll investigate theories, from the plausible to the bizarre, all in search of the true origin of the red moon. This is not just a story about the moon. It's a story about us, our fears, our knowledge, and our need to understand the unknown. Welcome to the true origins of the red moon explained. Chapter 1. The First Bloody Moon. Ancient Fear in the Sky. Long before telescopes or scientific models, there was instinct. And instinct, when faced with the unknown, often turned to fear. Imagine a world untouched by artificial light, where the sky was the only clock, calendar, and guide. Nightfall came with deep darkness, pierced only by the stars, and most importantly, the moon. A silent companion, dependable and comforting. Now imagine that moon, usually glowing soft white or silver, suddenly turning an ominous shade of red. The first humans to witness such a transformation didn't have a word for lunar eclipse or atmospheric scattering. All they had were their senses and their stories. Across early civilizations, the red moon was never taken lightly. It was a bad omen, a warning, a cry from the heavens. In many ways, it was the earliest form of cosmic communication, one that sparked both reverence and dread, the fear of the red glow. In Mesopotamia, some of the oldest astronomical records in history describe unusual occurrences involving the moon. Clay tablets etched over 4,000 years ago warn of a dying moon bathed in crimson light, interpreted as a sign of royal danger or the wrath of the gods. For the Sumerians and Akkadians, the moon was closely tied to the divine, specifically to the god Nana, lord of wisdom and protector of shepherds. When the moon turned red, it wasn't just nature changing its colours. It was Nana signalling discontent or foreshadowing catastrophe. Babylonian priests were among the first sky watchers to recognize patterns in the heavens, yet even their deep knowledge couldn't fully explain the red moon. They recorded its appearances, tracked its frequency, and developed rituals to protect their king during such events. Sometimes, a temporary king, a peasant or prisoner, would be crowned and later sacrificed in an effort to mislead fate. This practice, chilling and tragic, reveals how profoundly unsettling the red moon was. It wasn't merely observed, it was feared, and its arrival was answered with blood. Blood in the skies, blood on the earth. Further west, in ancient Egypt, the moon held a subtler but equally important role in the cosmic balance. The Egyptian calendar was deeply lunar. its months flowing with the rhythms of the waxing and waning light. But a red moon? That was a sign that balance had been broken. In their mythology, the red moon was associated with Set, the god of chaos, storms and destruction. It was said that during times of imbalance or war among the gods, Set would spill blood across the sky, staining the moon as a mark of his dominance. Whenever the moon bled, the earthly realm would soon follow. These ancient links between celestial and terrestrial bloodshed weren't metaphorical. They were deeply embedded in the worldview of the time. To ancient minds, the sky was not separate from the earth, but rather its mirror. If blood appeared in the heavens, it was a warning that blood would soon flow below. In the Americas, shadows of fear and spirit. Across the ocean, ancient American civilizations also watched the moon closely. Among the Maya, whose understanding of astronomy was astonishingly advanced, eclipses held special significance. They developed complex calculations to predict them. Yet, even with this knowledge, blood moons were treated as events of spiritual crisis. Mayan priests believed the moon was being attacked by a great celestial serpent or jaguar, attempting to devour its light. A red moon, in their lore, marked the moment the creature had tasted blood. To combat this attack, rituals were held to scare the beast away, shouting, banging drums, and lighting fires. Among the Incas, the interpretation was similar. The moon was seen as a divine being, and its red colouring was a sign that it had been wounded. Warriors would sometimes shoot arrows into the sky in a symbolic attempt to defend their wounded lunar protector. Meanwhile, in North America, various indigenous tribes held diverse interpretations. Some believed the moon was ill, others thought it was pregnant, and a few saw it as a spiritual door opening to another realm. The Cree people, for instance, saw the red moon as a warning of imbalance between humans and nature, or between the living and the spirits. To them, it was time for cleansing, reflection, and realignment, the moon's colour as language. Across the world, and across cultures that never contacted one another, the red moon was universally treated as a message. Its crimson light pierced not just the sky but the psyche. Unlike regular lunar phases that followed a clear, predictable cycle, the blood moon arrived rarely and suddenly, triggering a sense of cosmic dissonance. This reaction was not irrational. Even today, the rare sight of a red moon, though now explained in terms of Earth's shadow and Rayleigh scattering, still evokes a sense of awe. There is something primal in us, something that remembers. Modern psychology would suggest this comes from our evolutionary history. A sudden change in the moon's appearance could have signalled volcanic ash in the air, wildfires nearby, or incoming danger. But perhaps it's more than just biology. Perhaps, as our ancestors believed, the moon really does speak, through silence, colour, and presence. When fear became knowledge. It wasn't until much later, in the classical era, that thinkers began to separate divine judgment from natural phenomena. Yet even then, red moons retained their ominous associations. Philosophers like Aristotle sought physical explanations, but political leaders still consulted oracles when the moon turned crimson. What began as myth eventually became astronomy. And yet, the myth never truly died. It evolved. It continued through poetry, religion, folklore, and even modern media. a red moon is still used in films and books to suggest tension, change, or foreboding. This enduring symbolism reveals a deep truth. Whether real or imagined, natural or supernatural, the red moon has always marked a moment of transformation. It is a signal that something is happening, something beyond the ordinary. Let this be our starting point. The red moon was never just a light show. It was, and still is, a story written across the sky. The question that remains is, who wrote it and why? Chapter 2: Eclipses and Omens, the Science Behind Fear. Part 1: The red moon has long stood at the intersection of terror and awe. As we explored in the first chapter, ancient cultures saw in its crimson hue a message, often one of war, death, or divine judgment. But with the gradual unfolding of scientific understanding, humanity began to peel back the veil of fear and replace it with knowledge. Or so it seemed. In truth, the science behind a red moon, the lunar eclipse, did not erase fear. It simply gave it new layers. The celestial mechanics of a blood moon. To understand the red moon as science sees it, we must first step into the shadow. A blood moon occurs during a total lunar eclipse, a celestial alignment where the Earth positions itself directly between the sun and the moon. As Earth casts its shadow onto the moon, one might expect complete darkness, but instead, the moon transforms into a deep, glowing red. Why? The reason lies in Earth's atmosphere. As sunlight passes through the atmosphere, the shorter blue wavelengths scatter. This is why our sky is blue during the day. The longer red wavelengths bend around the Earth and continue travelling, filtering into Earth's umbral shadow. It is this refracted red light that gently illuminates the moon during totality, causing it to glow like a dying ember in the dark. This phenomenon is called Rayleigh scattering, the same principle that colours sunrises and sunsets. In essence, during a total lunar eclipse, the moon is bathed in all the world's sunsets and sunrises at once. It's a poetic thought. The red moon is not painted by fire or blood, but by beauty seen from a million angles. And yet, knowing the cause doesn't always eliminate the feeling. Even with all this science, the sight of a blood moon still stirs something ancient and uneasy inside us. Why? Science meets symbolism. The answer may lie in our psychological wiring. Humans are creatures of pattern. We take comfort in the predictable: sunrise, moon phases, the tides. When these patterns change, especially in sudden and dramatic ways, our brains react with a primal alertness. A red moon disrupts our expectations. It is rare. It is unnatural looking. It feels significant because it is. Throughout history, lunar eclipses have occurred just often enough to remain part of the cultural memory, but infrequently enough to retain their mystery. Ancient astronomers eventually recognized their patterns through what is now known as the Saros cycle, a period of roughly 18 years, 11 days, and 8 hours, after which similar eclipses repeat. Babylonian scholars likely tracked this cycle more than 2,500 years ago. Even then, eclipses were not merely intellectual curiosities, they were omens. And even today, they carry a strange weight. In many cultures, even now, a red moon is still treated with reverence or caution. farmers in parts of India pause certain crops. Spiritual practitioners across Asia use the moment for prayer, fasting, or ritual cleansing. Some view the eclipse as a time of vulnerability, others as a portal for rebirth. It seems that understanding the physics behind the red moon hasn't killed its mystique. It has merely reshaped it. Part 2. Eclipses and Moments of Crisis. Even in the modern world, blood moons seem to coincide, perhaps suspiciously often, with moments of political upheaval, natural disasters, or societal unrest. Skeptics dismiss these connections as coincidence, but across cultures and centuries, the phenomenon of pattern recognition has driven both superstition and prophecy. Let's consider a few famous examples. In 1504, Christopher Columbus, stranded in Jamaica and facing growing hostility from the indigenous population, used his almanac knowledge to predict a lunar eclipse. He warned the locals that if they did not continue feeding his starving crew, the Great Spirit would show displeasure by making the moon bleed. When the red moon appeared on cue, the frightened people complied, saving Columbus and his men. In that moment, science became magic again. Columbus didn't invent the eclipse. He simply understood its timing, but to those who didn't, it was divine punishment. This is a striking reminder that knowledge, when unequally distributed, becomes power, and that the red moon has often been used by those in the know to manipulate those in fear. The tetrad and apocalyptic thinking. In recent years, the term blood moon has taken on a life of its own, especially in religious and apocalyptic circles. Between 2014 and 2015, there was a sequence of 4 total lunar eclipses, known as a tetrad, all of which were visible over North America. This rare sequence coincided with Jewish holidays, sparking a wave of religious fervor and speculative prophecy. Books like 4 Blood Moons by Pastor John Hagee claimed the tetrad heralded the end of days, citing biblical references from the Book of Joel. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the great and terrible day of the Lord come. These prophecies garnered international attention, blending astronomy, theology, and fear in a potent cultural brew. While the world did not end, the events left a mark in the public imagination. And for many, the red moon was no longer just a beautiful rarity. It was a warning, a countdown, a cosmic alarm. But what is it about eclipses, especially lunar ones, that evoke such powerful reactions? Perhaps it's the stillness. During a total eclipse, time seems to slow. The sky darkens unnaturally. Birds go silent. The moon loses its familiar glow and takes on a colour more suited to old wounds than celestial beauty. It is a moment that feels outside of time, and in such moments our thoughts turn inward. We imagine loss, change, the unknown. The psychological power of colour, too, plays a role in this emotional alchemy. Red is the colour of blood, yes, but also of passion, warning, danger, and sacrifice. In every culture, red carries weight. Psychologists have found that red stimulates alertness and arousal in the brain. It increases the heart rate. It draws the eye. When combined with something as symbolically charged as the moon, the result is hard to ignore. The moon, traditionally associated with femininity, cycles, mystery, and reflection, becomes something else when it turns red. A paradox, familiar yet changed, comforting yet ominous. And it is in this paradox that myth and meaning thrive. Even today, in an age where we can live stream eclipses from orbiting satellites, many people still make offerings, perform prayers, or avoid looking at the red moon entirely. The instinct to treat it as sacred or dangerous remains. Part 3. Beyond the Shadow. New questions about the red moon. As the 21st century advances, we are armed with satellites, astronomical databases, and predictive models capable of mapping eclipses thousands of years into the future. We understand the mechanics behind the blood moon. We know how Earth's atmosphere bends light, how solar radiation interacts with particles, and how even volcanic eruptions can affect the hue of the lunar surface during an eclipse. And yet, new questions continue to surface. For instance, astronomers have begun to note that not all red moons are equally red. Some eclipses yield a soft copper tone, while others ignite into an almost oxblood glow. The variability is not entirely predictable. Yes, atmospheric conditions play a role. Dust, pollution, and even wildfire smoke can deepen the red. But there are discrepancies that don't always align with terrestrial data. Could something more subtle be affecting the moon's coloration during eclipses? Something not entirely understood? Some researchers are now investigating whether electromagnetic interactions between the Earth and Moon during certain solar conditions might be at play. Others hypothesize the presence of microscopic particulates in the upper atmosphere, barely detectable, yet potent enough to shift the color of refracted light. These are questions not easily answered, but they point to an important idea. Even in the age of science, the moon keeps her secrets. And so, the red moon remains a bridge between what we know and what we wonder. The shadow that lingers at its core, the red moon reminds us of a simple truth. Knowledge does not cancel emotion. Understanding the eclipse may explain its mechanics, but it doesn't neutralize the visceral feeling we get when we stand beneath one. In fact, it may deepen it. We are, after all, made from stars. And yet, we fear the dark. There is something eternal in the sight of the moon turning red. It connects us across time, to Babylonian priests charting omens on clay tablets, to Mayan astronomers aligning their pyramids to lunar cycles, to modern-day children staring up in awe from a city rooftop. Whether we call it science or superstition, omen or occurrence, the red moon speaks to the part of us that still lives in wonder. As we end this chapter, we carry with us not just an understanding of the eclipse, but a feeling, a recognition that beneath all our knowledge, the sky still holds the power to unsettle us, and perhaps that's how it should be. Chapter 3. The Moon. Across Civilizations. Red Myths in Every Culture. Part 1. Long before telescopes or equations, the moon was a storyteller in the sky. Its changing face wove tales of gods, monsters, lovers, and war. Among the many versions of the moon known to ancient peoples, one image was especially potent: the red moon. Mysterious, rare, and unforgettable, it was interpreted through the lens of culture, belief, and survival. In this chapter, we journey across continents and centuries, exploring how different civilizations made sense of the crimson moon. We'll find echoes between them, shared fears, shared wonder, and discover that the blood moon, far from being a singular omen, was a mirror reflecting the values and anxieties of each society. Mesopotamia. The red moon as royal warning. Our story begins in ancient Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization. To the Babylonians and Sumerians, the sky was a divine script. They did not merely observe the stars, they read them as one would sacred text. Eclipses, and especially red moons, were seen as dire messages from the gods. Rather than panic, the public, these societies placed the burden of interpretation squarely on the shoulders of the priests and kings. A total lunar eclipse was believed to be a direct threat to the king. During such events, a commoner was sometimes appointed as a substitute king, a temporary stand-in who would rule in name only. After the eclipse passed, and any perceived danger with it, the substitute would be executed, and the real monarch would reclaim the throne. This grim tradition speaks volumes. The red moon was not random. It was targeted. A judgment. A celestial political act. China, the heavenly dragon's hunger. Thousands of kilometers east in ancient China, the story changed, but the fear remained. The Chinese viewed eclipses as attacks, specifically as the moment when a celestial dragon was devouring the moon. During these events, people banged pots and drums, lit firecrackers, and shot arrows into the sky in an attempt to scare the dragon away. And when the moon re-emerged, often red and strange, but whole, the rituals were considered successful. Chinese astronomers, among the most sophisticated in the ancient world, knew far more than these myths suggest. As early as the Zhou dynasty, they could predict eclipses with remarkable accuracy. Yet the dual lens of science and story coexisted. This duality persists even today. Though modern China sees the red moon through a scientific lens, traditional tales of dragons and celestial battles still circulate, passed from grandparents to children under the light of an eclipse. The Maya, blood and balance far across the ocean in the dense jungles of Mesoamerica. The Maya watched the heavens with unmatched precision. They knew the lunar cycle intimately and could forecast eclipses with stunning accuracy. Their astronomical understanding was encoded into temples, calendars, and sacred texts. But even among these master astronomers, the red moon held a symbolic charge. The Maya associated lunar eclipses with blood and cosmic imbalance. The moon, in their mythology, was often linked to the feminine, goddesses, fertility, and cycles of life. When it turned red, it was as though the world was being drained, its equilibrium disrupted. Ceremonies were conducted to restore balance. Offerings were made, and in some regions, bloodletting rituals, where priests or rulers would offer their own blood, sought to appease the gods and protect the community. To the Maya, the red moon was not just an omen. It was a rupture in the harmony between earth and sky. For Part 2, Africa, the moon and the balance of spirits. Across the vast and diverse continent of Africa, lunar eclipses, and especially blood moons, were interpreted through the lens of ancestral spirits and cosmic balance. In many regions, the Aje moon was not simply a celestial object, but a living entity, tied deeply to rhythm, health, and harmony. Among the Batamaliba people of Togo and Benin, A lunar eclipse was not feared, but seen as an opportunity for reconciliation. They believed that when the moon turned red, it was fighting with the sun, and this cosmic conflict reflected the tension among humans. It was a sign that people must resolve their disputes, forgive and seek peace, so that the balance of the universe could be restored. Meanwhile, in parts of southern Africa, the red moon was associated with witchcraft, or spiritual contamination. Pregnant women were advised to stay indoors, and children were kept under protection. The blood moon was believed to bring about a thinness between worlds, where malevolent spirits could more easily influence the living. In many African cultures, drumming, dancing, and ritual chanting during eclipses was not only a response to fear, but a means of participation. People didn't just watch the sky, they engaged with it, interacting with the moon as though it could hear and feel their presence. Norse myth, wolves and the end of days. In the cold, starlit myths of Scandinavia, the moon was stalked by wolves. According to Norse mythology, two cosmic wolves, Skjöll and Hati, chased the sun and moon across the sky. When an eclipse occurred, it was believed that one of the wolves had caught its prey, biting into it, staining it with blood. A red moon was a sign of this terrible bite, and a reminder of the approaching Ragnarok, the Norse apocalypse. Ragnarok was foretold as a time when the sun and moon would be devoured entirely, plunging the world into darkness before a great battle between gods and monsters. Thus, the blood moon was not merely mythological, it was prophetic. To the Norse, the red moon was not just a story in the sky, it was a countdown. Their legends reflect a world constantly on the edge, of winter, of war, of survival. And the blood moon, fleeting and fierce, fit perfectly into this worldview. Polynesia, cycles of life and death. On the islands scattered across the Pacific, the moon was woven into stories of tides, fertility, and ancestry. In many Polynesian cultures, eclipses were viewed with awe and caution. Among the Maori of New Zealand, a blood moon was associated with the god Wiro, a deity of darkness and decay. It was said that when the moon turned red, Wiro was growing in strength, threatening to consume the light entirely. Prayers and chants were used to weaken Wiro's power and call for the protection of Rongo, the god of peace. In Hawaiian culture, the moon was associated with Hina, a powerful goddess who resided there. A red moon signaled a disruption in the divine order. Some legends told of celestial lovers torn apart, their pain staining the moon's surface red with sorrow and longing. These stories are not just poetry. They reflect how the red moon was seen as a spiritual event, one that demanded ritual attention. Whether seen as battle, loss, or purification, the blood moon was never ignored. For Part 2, Africa, the moon and the balance of spirits. Across the vast and diverse continent of Africa, lunar eclipses, and especially blood moons, were interpreted through the lens of ancestral spirits and cosmic balance. In many regions, the Aishe moon was not simply a celestial object, but a living entity, tied deeply to rhythm, health, and harmony. Among the Batamaliba people of Togo and Benin, a lunar eclipse was not feared, but seen as an opportunity for reconciliation. They believed that when the moon turned red, it was fighting with the sun, and this cosmic conflict reflected the tension among humans. It was a sign that people must resolve their disputes, forgive and seek peace, so that the balance of the universe could be restored. Meanwhile, in parts of southern Africa, the red moon was associated with witchcraft, or spiritual contamination. Pregnant women were advised to stay indoors, and children were kept under protection. The blood moon was believed to bring about a thinness between worlds, where malevolent spirits could more easily influence the living. In many African cultures, drumming, dancing, and ritual chanting during eclipses was not only a response to fear, but a means of participation. People didn't just watch the sky, they engaged with it, interacting with the moon as though it could hear and feel their presence. Norse myth, wolves and the end of days. In the cold, starlit myths of Scandinavia, the moon was stalked by wolves. According to Norse mythology, two cosmic wolves, Skjöll and Hati, chased the sun and moon across the sky. When an eclipse occurred, it was believed that one of the wolves had caught its prey, biting into it, staining it with blood. A red moon was a sign of this terrible bite, and a reminder of the approaching Ragnarok, the Norse apocalypse. Ragnarok was foretold as a time when the sun and moon would be devoured entirely, plunging the world into darkness before a great battle between gods and monsters. Thus, the blood moon was not merely mythological, it was prophetic. To the Norse, the red moon was not just a story in the sky, it was a countdown. Their legends reflect a world constantly on the edge, of winter, of war, of survival. And the blood moon, fleeting and fierce, fit perfectly into this worldview. Polynesia, cycles of life and death. On the islands scattered across the Pacific, the moon was woven into stories of tides, fertility, and ancestry. In many Polynesian cultures, eclipses were viewed with awe and caution. Among the Maori of New Zealand, a blood moon was associated with the god Wiro, a deity of darkness and decay. It was said that when the moon turned red, Wiro was growing in strength, threatening to consume the light entirely. Prayers and chants were used to weaken Wiro's power and call for the protection of Rongo, the god of peace. In Hawaiian culture, the moon was associated with Hina, a powerful goddess who resided there. A red moon signaled a disruption in the divine order. Some legends told of celestial lovers torn apart, their pain staining the moon's surface red with sorrow and longing. These stories are not just poetry. They reflect how the red moon was seen as a spiritual event, one that demanded ritual attention. Whether seen as battle, loss, or purification, the blood moon was never ignored. Chapter 4. Lunar Tides and Ancient Pulls. The Moon's Influence on Earth. From the first ripple in a tide pool to the slow tilt of tectonic plates, the moon exerts its influence upon Earth in ways both subtle and profound. While many associate the moon primarily with nighttime beauty or poetic metaphors, its role as a silent architect of Earth's rhythms is often overlooked. In this chapter, we delve into how the moon shapes our world, not through myth, but through gravitational dance, and how its influence may connect more deeply to the red moon than we first imagined. The Dance of Gravity. The moon is Earth's closest celestial companion, orbiting at a distance of about 384,000 kilometers. Despite this distance, its gravitational pull is strong enough to deform our planet's oceans, creating tides. The gentle rising and falling of sea levels that have governed life along coastlines for billions of years. But the moon doesn't just affect water. It pulls at the crust of the Earth itself. Mountains, continents, even the atmosphere respond, however slightly, to its orbit. We do not feel it directly, but Earth itself is not entirely stable. It rocks, ever so slightly, in rhythm with its moon. These forces are not constant. They ebb and flow with the moon's elliptical orbit, which is not a perfect circle. When the moon is closer to Earth, at perigee, its gravitational tug is stronger. When it aligns with the Sun and Earth in a straight line during a full moon, these forces amplify, creating spring tides that are more dramatic than usual. It is during such alignments, especially during lunar eclipses, that the moon turns red. Life, evolution, and the moon's quiet influence. Beyond the tides, scientists believe the moon played a critical role in the evolution of life on Earth. Without it, our planet's axial tilt could have shifted wildly over time, producing extreme and erratic climate changes. But the moon acts like a gyroscopic stabilizer, helping to maintain the tilt that gives us seasons. This stability has allowed for the slow, steady development of complex ecosystems. The regularity of tides governed by the moon also played a role in shaping early life. Some scientists believe that tidal pools, where water levels rise and fall, were ideal laboratories for the chemical ingredients of life to concentrate and interact. The moon, in this sense, may not just shape life, it may have sparked it. Every heartbeat of an ocean wave echoes the moon's influence. Red moon. As a gravitational coincidence, during a total lunar eclipse, the Earth passes directly between the Sun and the moon. The moon is still faintly visible, not because it is lit by the Sun, but because Earth's atmosphere bends and filters sunlight, casting a red glow upon the moon's surface. This light is not direct. It is sunlight refracted through all the sunsets and sunrises on Earth at that moment. But this eerie red hue doesn't occur randomly. It happens only when the moon is in syzygy, perfectly aligned with the Earth and Sun. That alignment also coincides with the gravitational factors that amplify tides, alter oceanic currents, and subtly tug at Earth's crust. In a way, the red moon is a visual echo of invisible forces. It is the moment when alignment becomes illumination, a gravitational event made visible. Ancient awareness, modern science. While early cultures interpreted red moons as signs or omens, it's remarkable how often their timing aligned with real, physical effects. Crop failures, animal migrations, strange tides. These may not have been caused by the moon turning red, but by the gravitational and atmospheric shifts that accompanied the celestial alignments. Today, scientists can measure these influences down to the millimeter. Satellites record Earth's deformation under lunar pull. Oceanographers track how tides grow stronger during eclipses. Even modern earthquake researchers have investigated whether the moon's position might slightly increase seismic activity. Under specific circumstances, the red moon, then, is not just poetic, it is predictive. It signals not only an alignment in the sky, but a subtle change in the Earth itself. a celestial compass. Throughout history, the moon has served as a compass, guiding navigation, agriculture, and ritual. It remains so today, though the tools have changed. Satellites rely on lunar positions to calibrate instruments. Astronomers use eclipses to measure the curvature of Earth's shadow. And climate scientists study the moon's pull on ice shelves, tides, and atmospheric tides to forecast change. The red moon, once a source of mystery and myth, is now a moment of revelation. It invites us to look up, but also to look deeper, into the hidden forces that shape our world. It reminds us that we are not isolated beings on a still planet, but part of a delicate, dynamic celestial system, forever turning, forever pulling, forever reflecting the story of Earth in the light of the moon. Chapter 5. Prophets and Portents, the Red Moon in Modern Prophecy. Throughout history, the moon has been a symbol, a calendar, a guide, and sometimes a warning. While science has unveiled the mechanics of lunar eclipses, many still look at the blood moon not as a natural phenomenon, but as a message. In this chapter, we explore how the red moon has been interpreted in modern times, through religion, apocalyptic prophecy, and the anxious imagination of a world seeking signs. A return to Revelation. For many, the Book of Revelation remains the ultimate source of end times imagery. Among its most striking verses is this: "The sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood." Revelation 6:12, this single line, has echoed for centuries, and in recent decades it has taken on new urgency. As astronomical predictions became more precise, religious leaders and prophetic thinkers began correlating red moons with historical and future events. Among the most notable was the concept of the blood moon tetrad. Between 2014 and 2015, 4 total lunar eclipses occurred in succession, each coinciding with Jewish holidays. This rare alignment, called a tetrad, was interpreted by some evangelical leaders, such as John Hagee and Mark Biltz, as a divine message, a celestial alarm signaling the approach of apocalyptic transformation. Books were written, documentaries aired, sermons were streamed worldwide. The red moon, explained by science, was once again enveloped in spiritual suspense. The tetrads and their historical echoes. What made the 2014-2015 tetrad particularly compelling to believers was not just the timing of the eclipses, but their historical parallels. Previous tetrads had occurred in 1493-94, shortly after the expulsion of Jews from Spain. 1949-50, following the establishment of the State of Israel. 1967-68, during the Six-Day War and the reunification of Jerusalem. To those seeking signs, these patterns suggested that blood moons coincided with pivotal shifts in Jewish history, and therefore the modern tetrad could mark another turning point. Speculation ranged from economic collapse to global conflict, from natural disasters to the Second Coming. Yet nothing catastrophic happened. The moon turned red, and the world continued turning. The prophecies did not come to pass, but the emotional power of the red moon remained unshaken. The psychological pull of portents. Why do blood moons attract prophecy? Part of the answer lies in human psychology. We are pattern seekers. We assign, meaning to randomness, especially when it comes to the heavens. A red moon is rare, dramatic, and beautiful. It invites interpretation. Add to that our deep-seated fear of the unknown, of loss, of change, and the red moon becomes the perfect canvas for anxiety and hope alike. It is nature's spectacle, but it plays like a scene from ancient scripture. In a world overwhelmed by information, where traditional structures of meaning are eroding, many turn their eyes to the sky, seeking not just beauty, but direction. The Internet age and the spread of celestial fear. In the digital age, a single blood moon can trigger a tidal wave of online theories. Social media spreads speculation faster than reason. Articles claiming imminent disaster or secret government knowledge flood the web during every eclipse cycle. YouTube videos label upcoming blood moons as signs of the Great Reset, or even alien disclosure. For some, these are modern myths, entertaining, theatrical. For others, they are deeply real. Lunar eclipses have become a kind of cosmic Rorschach test. You see in them what your worldview projects. In this sense, the red moon has become a mirror, not only of Earth's light, but of human belief. A glowing lens through which we glimpse our fears, our prophecies, and our longing for cosmic order between sky and spirit. The red moon exists at the boundary between astronomy and mythology, between science and spirit. It is a fact of orbital mechanics, yes, but it is also a symbol, capable of stirring ancient instincts and modern narratives. To witness a red moon is to stand beneath the same sky as our ancestors, and to feel, for a moment, that the universe is not just vast, but watchful. As we continue our journey through the truth behind the red moon, we must ask, what does it reveal not just about the heavens, but about us? Chapter 6. Why Red? The atmospheric alchemy of a lunar eclipse. It's one of nature's most haunting spectacles. The moon, once bright and silver, slowly darkens and glows a deep, unsettling red. To the naked eye, it feels like magic. But behind this transformation lies a complex interplay of light, air, and shadow. In this chapter, we explore the precise mechanics of why the moon turns red during a total lunar eclipse, and how Earth's atmosphere becomes the lens that paints it crimson. The geometry of shadows. At the heart of every lunar eclipse is alignment, when the sun, earth, and moon line up perfectly, with Earth in the middle. The moon slips into the planet's umbra, or central shadow. During this time, direct sunlight is completely blocked from reaching the lunar surface. So why doesn't the moon simply vanish in darkness? Because Earth's atmosphere bends sunlight around its edges. This process is known as refraction, and it is what allows some light to reach the moon, even when it lies fully within Earth's shadow. But this is no ordinary light, the filtering effect of Earth's atmosphere. As sunlight passes through Earth's atmosphere, it encounters molecules of nitrogen and oxygen, along with particles of dust, ash, and water vapor. These components scatter short wavelengths of light, like blue and green, away from the path of the refracted beam. This is the same effect that makes our sky blue during the day, and sunsets orange and red. What remains? What travels the longest path through the atmosphere and emerges on the other side is red light, Thus, during a total lunar eclipse, the moon is bathed not in white sunlight, but in the red glow of all the Earth's sunrises and sunsets happening at once, all around the globe. It's a breathtaking idea. The light touching the moon during a blood moon is not just sunlight, it's Earthlight, filtered through the curve of the world. The blood moon's shade, not always the same. No two blood moons look exactly alike. Some are deep red, others copper, orange, or even a dusky grey. These variations depend on conditions in Earth's atmosphere at the time of the eclipse. After volcanic eruptions, for example, the moon can appear darker or more crimson due to additional ash and aerosols in the atmosphere. High levels of pollution, wildfire smoke, or cloud cover can also affect how much red light is bent and filtered toward the moon. Even weather systems and humidity play a role, adding an unpredictable element to each eclipse. In a way, each red moon is a snapshot of Earth's atmosphere at that exact moment, like a celestial weather report painted across the lunar surface. Earth as a cosmic lens. From a scientific perspective, the moon becomes a canvas, and Earth's atmosphere becomes a projector lens. Astronomers have learned to analyze this light, not just for its color, but for its spectral content. In fact, some researchers use lunar eclipses to study the chemical makeup of Earth's atmosphere by analyzing how it tints the moon. What's more, this principle has been applied beyond our planet. Scientists use similar techniques to study exoplanet atmospheres. By watching as alien planets pass in front of their stars and filtering starlight through their atmospheres. In this sense, the red moon is not just a local mystery, it's a gateway to understanding planets across the galaxy. A global glow, a shared experience. When a red moon rises, it's seen not just in one country or one hemisphere, but across large portions of the world. People from vastly different cultures and languages stand beneath the same darkened sky and witness the same phenomenon. For a few brief hours, the moon becomes a universal mirror, reflecting the air of our planet and the unity of our gaze. It reminds us of something quietly profound. The moon may not belong to us, but its color during those eclipsed hours is a direct result of us, of our world, our sky, our breath. In the glow of the red moon, we see the planet we call home, painted in light curved across a cosmic stage. Chapter 7. Rituals. Beneath the crimson light, ceremonies of the red moon. Long before the age of telescopes and satellites, the red moon was a signal, not just of awe, but of action. Across continents and cultures, civilizations aligned their ceremonies, prayers, and rituals with the sudden blooding of the lunar face. In this chapter, we explore the deep tapestry of ritual behavior, ancient and modern, inspired by the red moon's rare appearance. The moon as timekeeper and spirit. Gate in ancient societies, time was often lunar. From the Babylonians to the Maya, the shifting face of the moon was more than a calendar. It was a divine messenger. When that face turned red, it was never taken lightly. In Mesopotamia, royal astronomer priests would stand watch over the night sky. A blood moon was considered an omen against the king, signaling danger or instability. Elaborate rituals were performed, including the substitution of a temporary shadow king to absorb the cosmic threat. That stand-in ruler might live lavishly for days, only to be ritually sacrificed when the eclipse passed. In ancient China, eclipses were linked with celestial battles. The red moon signified the devouring of the moon by a dragon. Drums were beaten, gongs rang out, and fireworks were set off to scare away the beast. These rituals weren't metaphor. They were existential acts to restore cosmic order. Even today, echoes of these beliefs linger in how cultures treat lunar eclipses, not with indifference, but with caution, reverence, or celebration. The crimson, moon and blood rituals among the Inca. The red moon was linked to blood sacrifices. They believed the moon was under attack, possibly by a jaguar, and that human or animal blood might help satisfy the beast and restore balance. Ceremonies were held to honor Mamaquilla, the moon goddess, and to beg her protection. In Africa, the Batamaliba people of Togo and Benin believed a lunar eclipse was caused by conflict between the moon and the sun. During the red moon, villagers held peace ceremonies, resolving disputes and rebalancing social harmony. The idea was simple yet profound. As the heavens fought, so must humans find peace. Across the world, red moons called people to reconciliation, fear, sacrifice, or unity. They were considered portals in time, windows through which spiritual forces passed. The secret societies and lunar timing. In more recent history, esoteric societies have also viewed the blood moon as a threshold moment. Some occult groups in the 19th and 20th centuries aligned their initiations or great workings with lunar eclipses, believing the thinning of light allowed for clearer communication with spiritual forces or hidden knowledge. One such group, linked loosely to the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, used red moons as moments for ritual scrying and channeling. The darkness of the eclipse symbolized the death of illusion, while the red glow represented the fire of inner transformation. In the modern age, these ideas have persisted, mutated and filtered through New Age spirituality, ceremonial magic, and neo-paganism. Rituals during blood moons now range from global meditations to solo intention ceremonies, all centered on the theme of transformation through darkness. Blood moons as moments of transition. Across all traditions, one theme recurs. The red moon is a moment of threshold between shadow and light, death and rebirth, past and future. For the Mayans, eclipses were hidden passages between worlds, times when gods walked more closely with humans. In India, during a lunar eclipse, people refrain from food and prayer, seeing the moon as temporarily impure, while others bathe afterward in rivers to purify the soul. In parts of Eastern Europe, folk traditions advise staying indoors during a blood moon, guarding the home against spirits and bad luck. Even outside of structured religion, people feel the pull of the red moon. It's not unusual to find yoga groups, drumming circles, or silent vigils under the eclipsed sky, all echoing an instinct thousands of years old, that when the moon turns red, something is shifting, not just above, but within. The modern ritual. Mine today, we may understand the mechanics behind the red moon, but the emotional weight remains. People light candles, write intentions, chant under the crimson glow, not out of superstition, but out of a longing to connect with what? With nature, with time, With something deeper and older than themselves, the rituals may change, but the moon remains. And every time it turns red, it reminds us that mystery is not extinguished by explanation. It's only deepened. Chapter 7. Rituals. Beneath the crimson light, ceremonies of the red moon. Long before the age of telescopes and satellites, the red moon was a signal, not just of awe, but of action. Across continents and cultures, civilizations aligned their ceremonies, prayers and rituals with the sudden blooding of the lunar face. In this chapter, we explore the deep tapestry of ritual behavior, ancient and modern, inspired by the red moon's rare appearance. The moon as timekeeper and spirit. In ancient societies, time was often lunar. From the Babylonians to the Maya, the shifting face of the moon was more than a calendar. It was a divine messenger. When that face turned red, it was never taken lightly. In Mesopotamia, royal astronomer priests would stand watch over the night sky. A blood moon was considered an omen against the king, signaling danger or instability. Elaborate rituals were performed, including the substitution of a temporary shadow king to absorb the cosmic threat. That stand-in ruler might live lavishly for days, only to be ritually sacrificed when the eclipse passed. In ancient China, eclipses were linked with celestial battles. The red moon signified the devouring of the moon by a dragon. Drums were beaten, gongs rang out, and fireworks were set off to scare away the beast. These rituals weren't metaphor. They were existential acts to restore cosmic order. Even today, echoes of these beliefs linger in how cultures treat lunar eclipses, not with indifference, but with caution, reverence, or celebration. The crimson, moon and blood rituals among the Inca. The red moon was linked to blood sacrifices. They believed the moon was under attack, possibly by a jaguar, and that human or animal blood might help satisfy the beast and restore balance. Ceremonies were held to honor Mamaquila, the moon goddess, and to beg her protection. In Africa, the Batamaliba people of Togo and Benin believed a lunar eclipse was caused by conflict between the moon and the sun. During the red moon, villagers held peace ceremonies, resolving disputes and rebalancing social harmony. The idea was simple yet profound. As the heavens fought, so must humans find peace. Across the world, red moons called people to reconciliation, fear, sacrifice, or unity. They were considered portals in time, windows through which spiritual forces passed. The secret societies and lunar timing. In more recent history, esoteric societies have also viewed the blood moon as a threshold moment. Some occult groups in the 19th and 20th centuries aligned their initiations or great workings with lunar eclipses, believing the thinning of light allowed for clearer communication with spiritual forces or hidden knowledge. One such group, linked loosely to the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, used red moons as moments for ritual scrying and channeling. The darkness of the eclipse symbolized the death of illusion, while the red glow represented the fire of inner transformation. In the modern age, these ideas have persisted, mutated and filtered through New Age spirituality, ceremonial magic, and neo-paganism. Rituals during blood moons now range from global meditations to solo intention ceremonies, all centered on the theme of transformation through darkness. Blood moons as moments of transition. Across all traditions, one theme recurs. The red moon is a moment of threshold between shadow and light, death and rebirth, past and future. For the Mayans, eclipses were hidden passages between worlds, times when gods walked more closely with humans. In India, during a lunar eclipse, people refrain from food and prayer, seeing the moon as temporarily impure, while others bathe afterward in rivers to purify the soul. In parts of Eastern Europe, folk traditions advise staying indoors during a blood moon, guarding the home against spirits and bad luck. Even outside of structured religion, people feel the pull of the red moon. It's not unusual to find yoga groups, drumming circles, or silent vigils under the eclipsed sky, all echoing an instinct thousands of years old. That when the moon turns red, something is shifting, not just above, but within. The modern ritual. Mind today, we may understand the mechanics behind the red moon, but the emotional weight remains. People light candles, write intentions, chant under the crimson glow, not out of superstition, but out of a longing to connect with what? With nature, with time, with something deeper and older than themselves. The rituals may change, but the moon remains. And every time it turns red, it reminds us that mystery is not extinguished by explanation. It's only deepened. Chapter 7. Rituals. Beneath the crimson light, ceremonies of the red moon. Long before the age of telescopes and satellites, the red moon was a signal, not just of awe, but of action. Across continents and cultures, civilizations aligned their ceremonies, prayers and rituals with the sudden blooding of the lunar face. In this chapter, we explore the deep tapestry of ritual behavior, ancient and modern, inspired by the red moon's rare appearance. The moon as timekeeper and spirit. Yet in ancient societies, time was often lunar. From the Babylonians to the Maya, the shifting face of the moon was more than a calendar. It was a divine messenger. When that face turned red, it was never taken lightly. In Mesopotamia, royal astronomer priests would stand watch over the night sky. A blood moon was considered an omen against the king, signaling danger or instability. Elaborate rituals were performed, including the substitution of a temporary shadow king to absorb the cosmic threat. That stand-in ruler might live lavishly for days, only to be ritually sacrificed when the eclipse passed. In ancient China, eclipses were linked with celestial battles. The red moon signified the devouring of the moon by a dragon. Drums were beaten, gongs rang out, and fireworks were set off to scare away the beast. These rituals weren't metaphor. They were existential acts to restore cosmic order. Even today, echoes of these beliefs linger in how cultures treat lunar eclipses, not with indifference, but with caution, reverence, or celebration. The crimson, moon and blood rituals among the Inca. The red moon was linked to blood sacrifices. They believed the moon was under attack, possibly by a jaguar, and that human or animal blood might help satisfy the beast and restore balance. Ceremonies were held to honor Mamaquilla, the moon goddess, and to beg her protection. In Africa, the Batamaliba people of Togo and Benin believed a lunar eclipse was caused by conflict between the moon and the sun. During the red moon, villagers held peace ceremonies, resolving disputes and rebalancing social harmony. The idea was simple yet profound. As the heavens fought, so must humans find peace. Across the world, red moons called people to reconciliation, fear, sacrifice, or unity. They were considered portals in time, windows through which spiritual forces passed. The secret societies and lunar timing. In more recent history, esoteric societies have also viewed the blood moon as a threshold moment. Some occult groups in the 19th and 20th centuries aligned their initiations or great workings with lunar eclipses, believing the thinning of light allowed for clearer communication with spiritual forces or hidden knowledge. One such group, linked loosely to the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, used red moons as moments for ritual scrying and channeling. The darkness of the eclipse symbolized the death of illusion, while the red glow represented the fire of inner transformation. In the modern age, these ideas have persisted, mutated and filtered through New Age spirituality, ceremonial magic, and neo-paganism. Rituals during blood moons now range from global meditations to solo intention ceremonies, all centered on the theme of transformation through darkness. Blood moons as moments of transition. Across all traditions, one theme recurs. The red moon is a moment of threshold between shadow and light, death and rebirth, past and future. For the Mayans, eclipses were hidden passages between worlds, times when gods walked more closely with humans. In India, during a lunar eclipse, people refrain from food and prayer, seeing the moon as temporarily impure, while others bathe afterward in rivers to purify the soul. In parts of Eastern Europe, folk traditions advise staying indoors during a blood moon, guarding the home against spirits and bad luck. Even outside of structured religion, people feel the pull of the red moon. It's not unusual to find yoga groups, drumming circles, or silent vigils under the eclipsed sky, all echoing an instinct thousands of years old, that when the moon turns red, something is shifting, not just above, but within. The modern ritual. Mind today, we may understand the mechanics behind the red moon, but the emotional weight remains. People light candles, write intentions, chant under the crimson glow, not out of superstition, but out of a longing to connect with what? With nature, with time, with something deeper and older than themselves. The rituals may change, but the moon remains. And every time it turns red, it reminds us that mystery is not extinguished by explanation. It's only deepened. Chapter 10. Apocalypse in the Sky. The Red Moon and Modern Conspiracies. In the age of satellites, quantum physics, and artificial intelligence, one might assume that an event like a red moon would be met with scientific calm. But despite centuries of understanding, the blood moon continues to ignite the ancient impulse to seek hidden meanings and secret warnings. In this chapter, we delve into the modern world of conspiracy theories, cult beliefs, and prophetic interpretations that surround the red moon, a celestial body that still whispers to the apocalyptic mind. The return of prophecy. In 2014 and 2015, 4 total lunar eclipses occurred in close succession, a rare phenomenon known as a tetrad. All 4 were visible in parts of the Americas and fell on Jewish holy days. For many, it was a fascinating astronomical alignment. But for others, it was a sign. Enter the blood moon prophecy, popularized by American pastors John Hoagie and Mark Biltz, who claimed the tetrad fulfilled biblical prophecies from the Udochiosenim, Book of Joel and Revelation. According to them, the red moons marked the beginning of divine judgment and signaled the end times. These claims went viral. Books were published. News networks debated their validity. Millions tuned in to watch the eclipses not only for beauty, but for salvation or doom. Of course, the world did not end, but the red moon had once again become a beacon for belief, a celestial flashpoint for the tension between reason and revelation. The lunar eclipse and doomsday cults. The red moon has also figured prominently in the narratives of doomsday cults and fringe spiritual movements. Groups like Heaven's Gate, which famously orchestrated a mass suicide in 1997 to ascend to a spacecraft behind the Hale-Bopp comet, held that lunar phenomena were signs of cosmic shifts. Some modern sects tie lunar eclipses to Nibiru, a hypothetical, a hidden planet said to crash into Earth in cataclysmic cycles. In these belief systems, a blood moon is not a passive warning. It is the active trigger of catastrophe. In South America, small apocalyptic churches have linked lunar eclipses to the appearance of Antichrist figures or the sealing of the faithful. In Eastern Europe and parts of Asia, traditional folklore has merged with conspiracy to paint the red moon as a gateway between worlds, one that opens for brief moments, allowing in either demons, angels, or extraterrestrial forces. Social media and viral fear in the digital age, eclipses spread not only through the sky, but through feeds and forums. On platforms like TikTok, X, Reddit, and YouTube, blood moon footage is frequently paired with ominous music, apocalyptic predictions, and warnings of political or natural disaster. Hashtags trend. Users share signs in the sky, animals behaving strangely, or strange dreams they claim preceded the eclipse. This amplification of fear and symbolism creates a kind of mass digital ritual, one in which people collectively focus on a celestial event, projecting hopes, anxieties, and narratives onto it. Conspiracies evolve quickly in these spaces, often drawing from climate fear, economic uncertainty, or cultural unrest. A red moon becomes a canvas for collective dread. The red moon and government secrets. Another layer of modern conspiracy involves government manipulation. Some theorists claim that blood moons are not natural at all, but the result of hidden technologies. These ideas often overlap with beliefs in weather control, like HAARP, secret satellites, or false flag astronomical events. According to these theories, the red moon is a manufactured spectacle designed to distract the public, manipulate emotions, or trigger a specific psychological response. Others believe blood moons are used by global elites to perform occult rituals tied to lunar power, events timed to coincide with major political moves, wars, or financial shifts. Though there is no scientific basis for such claims, the very idea that something as ancient and natural as the red moon could be controlled or weaponized reflects a deep mistrust in institutions and a longing for cosmic meaning in a chaotic world. Why we keep looking for signs? Why does the red moon, more than a solar eclipse or a meteor shower, inspire such intense belief? Because it is visible, dramatic, and strangely intimate. It doesn't blind like the sun. It glows in the silence, watching us with a dark eye. It turns an object we see every night into something unfamiliar, an omen in plain sight. And in times of uncertainty, humans look to the skies, whether during plague, war, financial collapse, or climate crisis. Celestial events become mirrors for inner fear and outer instability. The red moon is not the cause of anxiety. It is the symbol, a cosmic punctuation mark reminding us of the fragility of the world below. Chapter 11. Pattern Seekers. The psychology behind the red moon's meaning. Why does a red moon stir such emotion? Why does it inspire everything from myth to prophecy, from fear to awe? In this chapter, we journey into the human mind itself, exploring how psychology, pattern recognition, and cultural conditioning shape our perception of the red moon, not just as an event, but as a story we can't stop telling. The brain as a meaning. Making machine human beings are wired for pattern recognition. This trait helped our ancestors survive, seeing footprints in the mud, spotting threats in a tangle of leaves, or predicting animal migrations by the phase of the moon. Over time, this instinct evolved into a powerful cognitive bias, the tendency to find meaning even where none exists. This is known as apophenia, the perception of connections or patterns between unrelated things. It's closely related to pareidolia, where people see faces in clouds or hear hidden messages in noise. The blood moon, dramatic and rare, becomes an easy trigger for this psychological effect. When the moon turns red, it becomes an anomaly in the sky, a rupture in the familiar, and anomalies by nature demand explanation. Stories in the sky, cultural narrative templates. Across cultures, the moon is more than a rock orbiting Earth. It is a character in human storytelling. It's been a goddess, a watcher, a timekeeper, and a messenger of fate. Anthropologists have long studied how humans project moral and emotional significance onto natural events. A red moon often coincides with harvests, transitions, or seasons of risk. In this way, it becomes woven into narrative templates of transformation, danger, or rebirth. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist, referred to such archetypal symbols as part of the collective unconscious, images and ideas that recur across human history. The blood moon, in Jungian terms, might symbolize shadow integration, or the confrontation with the unknown parts of the self. Even in secular societies, where scientific literacy is high, people still tell stories. The eclipse becomes a shared event around which social meaning crystallizes. A couple kisses under a red moon and calls it fate. Protesters march during an eclipse and claim cosmic alignment. Photographers wait for the perfect blood moon shot, as if capturing a moment between worlds. The meaning is not in the moon, but in us, the comfort of cosmic order. Another psychological force at play is the need for control. In uncertain times, war, recession, pandemic, people seek signs that the universe has a plan. The blood moon becomes an opportunity to locate ourselves within that imagined cosmic order. This isn't foolishness. It's emotional survival. In the vast randomness of space, the idea that a red moon means something, anything, gives people a sense of placement and purpose. Even if that purpose is dramatic, frightening or apocalyptic, it's still better than meaninglessness. Modern studies in psychology show that belief in signs or omens often increases when people feel disempowered. The red moon offers a canvas where fears can be externalized and framed into something comprehensible. A fire in the sky is easier to name than chaos inside. Memory and emotion. Why we never forget a blood moon. Ask someone to describe a blood moon they saw 10 years ago, and they might remember the exact moment, where they stood, what they felt, who was beside them. That's because emotionally charged events imprint strongly on memory. Psychologists refer to this as flashbulb memory. It's often associated with historic tragedies or major events, but it also applies to rare emotional phenomena like eclipses. The red moon, often accompanied by stillness, hushed voices, and dramatic visuals, creates a psychological timestamp, a vivid mental photograph that anchors the memory in place. It's why people plan for it. It's why some travel thousands of kilometers to witness it. And it's why many return from the experience changed, not just by what they saw, but by what they felt seeing it. Or the science of wonder. Finally, the red moon touches on one of the most profound emotional states, awe. Awe arises when we encounter something vast, mysterious, and beyond our understanding. It expands our sense of time, decreases our focus on the self, and increases feelings of connection to others and the universe. Studies have shown that people who regularly experience awe tend to be happier, more compassionate, and more open-minded. The red moon, especially during a total eclipse, creates a perfect moment for awe. The transformation of the familiar moon into a surreal red orb suspends time. It strips away distraction. It reminds us of the great, elegant machinery of the cosmos and our small, sacred place within it. In the end, the blood moon might not be a message from the gods or a sign of the end times, but it is a mirror, revealing how deeply human we are, how much we long for meaning, and how beautiful it is to wonder. Chapter 12. The Red Muse, Blood Moons in Art, Music, and Literature. The red moon doesn't just haunt the skies, it haunts the canvas, the page, and the stage. For centuries, artists, poets, musicians, and filmmakers have drawn inspiration from the eerie glow of the lunar eclipse, transforming this natural event into a symbol that transcends science. In this chapter, we trace the presence of the red moon across the creative world, exploring how it has been depicted, interpreted, and immortalized by human imagination, from oil paintings and sonnets to symphonies and cinema. Painting the sky in crimson long before photography, artists attempted to capture celestial events through pigment and brushstroke. In the Renaissance and Baroque eras, painters began incorporating lunar eclipses, often glowing red, into apocalyptic religious scenes. The red moon appeared behind crucifixions, battles, and angels blowing trumpets, hinting at divine intervention. Perhaps one of the most haunting depictions appears in Ludovico Carracci's late 16th century works, where a reddish moon lingers behind symbolic events, illuminating both despair and revelation. Romantic painters like J.M.W. Turner and Caspar David, Friedrich embraced the red moon not for its religious weight, but for its emotional and symbolic power. They positioned it above ruins, shipwrecks, or lone wanderers to suggest mystery, melancholy, and the sublime. Modern surrealists, such as Max Ernst, used the red moon in dreamlike compositions, where it floated like an ancient eye watching humanity's surreal journey. Today, digital artists and illustrators continue the tradition, rendering glowing red moons in dystopian cityscapes, fantasy landscapes, and dark dream worlds. The red moon remains, above all, a visual metaphor for transformation. Poetry in the shadow of the moon poets have long used the moon as a symbol for longing, madness, cycles, and hidden truths. But when the moon turns red, it becomes a rupture. In the rhythm, a moment when the ordinary becomes extraordinary. In Emily Dickinson's enigmatic verses, the moon is often silent and watching. In modern interpretations of her work, some scholars suggest that her rare references to a red eye in the sky may hint at eclipse events she witnessed. Sylvia Plath, in her haunting poem The Moon and the Yew Tree, evokes a moon that is cold and planetary. But in private notes, she once described an eclipse as the bleeding heart of the heavens. More directly, contemporary poets write about the blood moon as a moment of vulnerability, of surrender, or cosmic alignment. Spoken word performers have used it as a metaphor for cycles of trauma and healing. In every case, the red moon is not just an object, it is a feeling, a silence, a shift. Music and the blood moon. The music world, too, has long been drawn to the red moon's mysterious allure. From symphonic works inspired by lunar phases to rock and electronic albums titled Blood Moon or Eclipse, the moon's reddish phase is used to evoke emotional intensity, climax, or revelation. One notable example is Johann Strauss Detail's Wiener Blut, Vienna Blood, which, while not directly inspired by a blood moon, was often performed under open skies during lunar events, gaining mystical associations over time. In recent years, artists such as Beck, Travis Scott, and the Smashing Pumpkins have referenced blood moons in lyrics, sometimes as metaphors for broken love, sometimes for end times, and often for transformation. Instrumental ambient musicians frequently create soundscapes titled after lunar events. These works, played during eclipses or meditations, aim to capture the quiet immensity of the moon's red glow. And in pop culture, K-pop and metal bands alike have released songs or entire albums around the concept of a blood moon, linking it to identity, darkness and rebirth. Film and the lunar lens view art forms embrace the visual drama of a red moon more than cinema. In horror films, the red moon is shorthand for supernatural chaos. It marks the arrival of werewolves, vampires, or ancient curses. In underworld blood wars and similar films, the blood moon is depicted as a rare celestial event that alters fate and awakens dormant powers. Science fiction directors have used it as a symbol of alien contact or planetary doom, as seen in films like Melancholia by Lars von Trier, where a celestial body approaches Earth like a slow, elegant harbinger of extinction. Even romance and drama have embraced it. The red moon has become a backdrop for climactic kisses, final farewells, or emotional revelations, its glow deepening the tone of a scene. The red moon offers a natural special effect. one that speaks without words, evokes emotion without sound, and lingers long after the screen fades to black, the artist's eclipse. Why does the red moon matter so much to artists? Because it is both universal and deeply personal. It is a shared experience, visible to all, yet capable of triggering intimate responses. It sits at the intersection of the scientific and the spiritual, the measurable and the mythic. Artists, more than most, are attuned to such intersections. The red moon offers a moment of cosmic ambiguity, a perfect subject for art that seeks to ask questions rather than provide answers. It reminds us that even in a world of data and reason, there are still moments when the sky becomes a poem and the moon becomes a muse. Chapter 13. Sacred Shadows. The Red Moon in Mesoamerican and Andean Civilizations. Long before modern science explained the lunar eclipse, ancient civilizations in the Americas were already observing it with precision and reverence. In the temples of the Maya, the deserts of the Nazca, and the sacred valleys of the Inca, the red moon was seen not merely as a celestial event, but as a cosmic omen that connected the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. In this chapter, we journey through pre-Columbian knowledge systems, exploring how the red moon influenced religion, ritual, architecture, and even warfare across Mesoamerican and Andean societies. Watching the sky with sacred eyes. The Maya civilization, flourishing between 250 and 900 AD in what is now Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and Honduras, maintained some of the most sophisticated astronomical records of any ancient culture. Their astronomer priests used tools like the ecliptic table and lunar series carved in codices to predict eclipses with startling accuracy. A lunar eclipse, especially a total one, was not taken lightly. The reddish hue was interpreted as the moon being bitten or bled by celestial serpents or jaguars, symbols often associated with chaos or the underworld. In public ceremonies, Maya, priests conducted rituals to appease the gods, sometimes involving fasting, offerings, or even bloodletting. The purpose? To restore cosmic balance. The Inca, who ruled much of the Andes from the 13th to 16th centuries, also viewed lunar eclipses as moments of spiritual crisis. Their sky watchers, called amautas, interpreted a red moon as a sign that the moon goddess, Mamakilla, was being attacked by an evil force usually associated with serpents or mountain spirits. People would shout, make noise, and beat drums to scare the attacker away and protect the goddess. Even today, some Quechua communities in the Andes maintain echoes of these beliefs, shouting at the sky during an eclipse to wake the moon up or keep her safe. Sacred architecture and celestial alignments. The design of ancient Mesoamerican and Andean structures reveals a deep connection between architecture and astronomy. Temples were not only religious sites, they were observatories. In the city of Uxmal, the Maya built the Pyramid of the Magician, whose oval base and orientation suggest alignments with lunar events. At Copan, stelae and staircases contain lunar glyphs that track eclipse cycles over decades. Farther south, the Nazca lines in Peru, massive geoglyphs carved into the desert, may include figures that align with lunar standstills and eclipse paths. And in Machu Picchu, Inca architects designed temples with windows and niches that mark solstices and may have been used to observe moonrise and eclipse cycles. The red moon in these cultures was not just watched. It was built into stone, woven into the very fabric of ceremonial space. Ritual and response eclipses in these civilizations were interactive. They demanded a response from the people. During a red moon, communities would often halt normal activities. Fires were extinguished or lit, depending on the tradition. Children and pregnant women were kept indoors, believing that the unnatural light might bring illness or deformation. Offerings of maize, cacao, or feathers were made, and in some regions, ritual dances were performed to mirror the cosmic drama unfolding above. The red moon became a moment to pause the ordinary and engage the sacred, a time to reaffirm the community's place in the cosmos. Blood and prophecy. In both the Mesoamerican and Andean worlds, blood was seen as sacred energy, a gift to the gods and a medium of balance. It's no surprise, then, that a blood-colored moon would evoke deep spiritual concern. Maya and Aztec priests sometimes interpreted it as a warning of impending disaster, crop failure, war, or even the fall of dynasties. For the Inca, whose empire was deeply connected to cycles of time and harmony with nature, a red moon could signal an imbalance in the cosmic order, requiring the intervention of the Super Inca, emperor himself, in ritual correction. Some glyphs and records, including the Dresden Codex and Incan Quipus, suggest that total lunar eclipses were recorded alongside historical upheavals, as if the sky itself bore witness to human fate. Echoes in the present, though many of these civilizations were disrupted or destroyed by colonization, their knowledge and beliefs live on. Modern Maya communities in Guatemala, for example, still observe lunar eclipses with respect, teaching children not to point directly at the moon during an eclipse. In rural Peru and Bolivia, older generations will tell stories of how the red moon brings messages from the ancestors, or warnings of emotional or spiritual shifts. These stories are not relics. They are living systems of meaning. They remind us that the red moon is not only a physical event, but a bridge between worlds, sky and earth, body and spirit, past and future. In the eyes of ancient Americans, the red moon was not just a shadow in the sky. It was a moment when the invisible became visible and the sacred moved through the darkness. Chapter 14. Prophecies in Crimson. The Red Moon in Monotheistic Faiths. The red moon has long been a mirror for humanity's deepest hopes and fears. Among the world's major monotheistic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, this celestial phenomenon has been interpreted as a divine signal, often pointing to judgment, transformation, or renewal. In this chapter, we explore how each of these faiths has regarded the red moon, not simply as a natural event, but as a spiritual message written in the sky, one that continues to influence believers and religious thinkers to this day. The red moon in the Hebrew, scriptures and Judaism, the moon has always held a sacred rhythm. The Hebrew calendar itself is lunar-based, and many major holidays, such as Passover, are set according to the full moon. Within this context, eclipses, and especially blood moons, have been viewed as portents, not merely coincidences. The Book of Joel, an ancient prophetic text, delivers one of the earliest and most powerful references. The sun will be turned to darkness, and the moon to blood, before the great and dreadful day of the Lord comes. Joel 2:31. This imagery presents the blood moon as a herald of divine intervention. Later rabbinic writings, especially within the Talmud, note that lunar eclipses can be omens for the Jewish people, depending on the color and timing. Some mystical traditions, particularly Kabbalistic teachings, interpret the red moon as a moment when heavenly veils thin, allowing spiritual forces to shift. These teachings suggest that during such events, prayer and self-reflection gain heightened potency. Christian visions of the blood moon Christianity inherited much of its lunar symbolism from Judaism, but in the early centuries of the faith it expanded these ideas into apocalyptic prophecy. The Book of Revelation, the Bible's final, mysterious chapter, includes a dramatic vision. "And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood." Revelation 6:12. For many believers, especially during the Middle Ages, the red moon became synonymous with the end times. Lunar eclipses, particularly when occurring near significant holy days like Easter, were taken as signs of approaching judgment. In modern evangelical circles, the concept of the blood moon prophecy gained traction in the early 21st century. A series of 4 lunar eclipses occurring on Jewish holidays between 2014 and 2015 was interpreted by some pastors and authors as signaling prophetic change, possibly even the second coming of Christ, though mainstream Christian theology does not support date setting. The red moon remains deeply symbolic, a reminder of both God's mystery and humanity's dependence on divine mercy. Islam and the shadowed moon. In Islam, the moon holds central significance. The Islamic calendar is strictly lunar, and the moon is mentioned frequently in the Quran as a sign of God's power and design. Unlike the often ominous tone in Christian and Jewish prophecy, Islamic tradition treats lunar eclipses as moments of awe and humility before Allah, not necessarily signs of wrath, but of remembrance. The Prophet Muhammad is reported to have witnessed a lunar eclipse during the life of his son Ibrahim, who died in infancy. Some people believed the eclipse was a celestial morning, but the Prophet corrected them, saying, "The sun and the moon are 2 signs among the signs of Allah. They do not eclipse because of the death or life of anyone. So when you see them, pray." Thus, Islam established a special eclipse prayer, Salat al-Khusuf, to be performed during such events. A time of reflection, supplication, and reverence, not fear. Still, some Islamic eschatological traditions mention celestial signs near the Day of Judgment, and the blood moon can be seen within that context as part of divine unfolding. Yet overall, the emphasis remains on submission, not speculation. A shared sky, different meanings despite doctrinal differences. All 3 Abrahamic faiths see the moon, especially when veiled in crimson, as a divine signpost, whether as a warning, a mirror, or a call to prayer. The red moon is understood to carry meaning beyond physics. In times of crisis, plague, war, or social upheaval, blood moons often reappear in sermons, prophecies, and religious commentary. The moon, distant and unchanging, becomes a canvas upon which humanity projects its most urgent questions. contemporary echoes today, millions still interpret the blood moon through a religious lens. Books predicting the apocalypse, sermons on YouTube, and social media posts often explode in popularity around lunar eclipses. But alongside the fear, there is awe. For many believers, watching the moon turn red is not about doom, it's about mystery. It's a reminder that the cosmos is not silent, that even in our modern world, there are moments when the heavens still speak in symbols older than words. The red moon continues to shine, not only as a marvel of astronomy, but as a window into the divine. Chapter 15. Shadows Awakened, Red Moons and Supernatural Creatures. Since time immemorial, humans have turned to the night sky for answers. When the full moon turns blood red, our ancestors didn't just see a celestial anomaly, they felt something shift in the fabric of reality. In this chapter, we descend into the shadowy realm of folklore, exploring how the red moon has been linked to creatures of myth, haunted legends, and transformations both terrifying and sublime. From Europe's haunted forests to Asia's cursed mountains and Africa's ancestral tales, the red moon has long been considered a trigger for the supernatural. The werewolf's crimson curfew figures are as intimately linked with the moon as the werewolf. Across European folklore, especially in regions like Germany, France, and the Balkans, the full moon is said to bring out the beast in man. But a blood moon, a rare and ominous variation, adds a darker twist to this transformation. In some medieval legends, the red moon wasn't just the time for a man to become a wolf, but a moment when the transformation became permanent. Rather than reverting at dawn, the cursed individual would be forever trapped in their beast form, destined to roam the wilderness. Ancient Slavic myths tell of blood-bound wolves, shapeshifters whose curse was sealed under a crimson moon during a sacred betrayal. In these stories, only by spilling the blood of the one who cursed them, often a relative or former lover, could the curse be broken. Such legends spread into early Christian Europe, where the blood moon became symbolic of sin, taking physical form, a visible mark of evil overtaking the soul. Vampires and the moon of hunger. In many cultures, the red moon has been associated with bloodthirst, and few creatures represent that more than the vampire. In Eastern Europe, particularly in Romania and Bulgaria, lunar eclipses were believed to weaken the barrier between the living and the undead. It was thought that under the blood moon, vampires gained strength and could enter homes uninvited, even crossing blessed thresholds. Some 17th century texts in the region mention villagers performing rituals during eclipses to prevent the undead from rising, scattering ash at doorways, hammering iron nails into thresholds, or even burying garlic with the dead to bind them. In East Asia, similar beliefs existed about hungry ghosts, spirits that wandered during eclipses to consume energy or life force. The red moon was seen as a time of spiritual vulnerability, when possession and madness were more likely. In modern fiction, these ancient fears survive. Blood moons often appear in horror films, novels, and games as a signal of a coming feeding or a gate opening to a hidden realm. Skinwalkers and shape-shifting myths in Native American lore, particularly among the Navajo. There are stories of skinwalkers, humans, who transform into animals, often through forbidden rituals. While not directly tied to the red moon in every tradition, Some tales say that during a lunar eclipse, these beings can pass between worlds, gaining temporary powers or shedding their human disguise without effort. In West African mythologies, there are tales of were-leopards and were-hyenas who are empowered under red skies to hunt, vanishing into the night before dawn. In parts of Ethiopia and Tanzania, people believed that the red moon could release ancestral spirits who might possess or inhabit shapeshifters temporarily. These stories often served a dual purpose, explaining the unexplainable and serving as warnings against forbidden behaviors such as betrayal, cannibalism, or pact-making with dark forces. The red moon as a portal beyond physical transformations. The red moon is often imagined as a cosmic door, a time when boundaries blur. In Japanese folklore, certain types of yokai, supernatural beings, are said to awaken or become visible only during lunar eclipses. In Shinto tradition, a red moon might mark a kekai, a sacred tear in the world through which spirits or demons might pass. Some believe the blood moon is not just symbolic, but energetically potent. Practitioners of modern magic, both Wiccan and eclectic, sometimes use blood moons for powerful rituals involving banishment, shadow work, or transformation. The red moon is seen as a time to confront what is hidden, what is feared, and what lies beneath the surface of the self. This belief echoes ancient traditions from Mesopotamia to the Caribbean. The red moon is when masks fall, when the normal order is suspended, and when truths too powerful for daylight might emerge. A mirror to the mind. Ultimately, the red moon's connection to supernatural beings may reflect our deepest instincts and unconscious fears. When the familiar moon turns red, we are reminded that the world is not always what it seems. Daylight rules may not apply. The monsters we fear and the ones we hide may stir. It is no accident that across the globe, the red moon has been linked to transformation. Whether through werewolves, spirits, or shadowy rituals, it serves as a mirror to human duality. Light and dark, control and instinct, human and beast. The blood moon asks a haunting question. What awakens in you when the sky turns red? Chapter 16. Mind over Moon. The psychological and cultural impact of the red moon. Even in an age of satellites, telescopes, and scientific explanations, the blood moon continues to captivate and sometimes disturb the human mind. What is it about a simple shift in the moon's colour that can provoke such intense reactions in people across cultures and centuries? In this chapter, we explore how the red moon affects not only ancient beliefs and modern rituals, but also the human psyche, touching on fear, awe, and our deeply rooted connection to the cosmos. Through the lenses of psychology, sociology, and neuroscience, we attempt to uncover why the red moon still grips our imagination, even when we understand exactly how and why it occurs. The emotional power of colour, the colour red, is universally powerful. In psychology, red is associated with danger, passion, urgency, and alarm. It increases heart rate, elevates adrenaline, and can provoke strong emotional responses. When the moon turns red, especially unexpectedly, it triggers a visceral reaction. It's not the moon we know, it's something other. Even knowing the science behind it, many people report feeling uneasy, excited or reflective during a lunar eclipse. The red hue creates a dreamlike atmosphere, one that taps into deep ancestral memory. Evolutionarily, red often signified blood, fire, or warning signs in nature, elements humans could never afford to ignore. This biological wiring means that, even today, seeing a blood moon can unconsciously stimulate feelings of anxiety or heightened awareness. The lunar effect and human behavior for centuries, people have believed that the moon, especially the full moon, can affect human behavior. The term lunacy comes directly from Luna, the Roman moon goddess, and refers to erratic or abnormal behavior. Scientific studies on this topic are mixed. While some researchers have found no consistent evidence that the moon influences human behavior, others have suggested subtle effects, especially during sleep cycles, emergency room visits, or mental health episodes. When it comes to the blood moon, anecdotal reports often spike. Police departments in various countries have noted increases in calls for domestic disturbances or strange behavior during full or eclipsed moons, though causation remains unclear. One possibility is expectation bias. People anticipate something strange and thus perceive or amplify unusual events. But even if this is psychological rather than astronomical, the result is real. Belief shapes perception, and perception shapes reality. Cultural memory and ancestral fear. The red moon may tap into something deeper, a form of cultural or genetic memory. Throughout human history, eclipses were associated with bad omens, curses, and celestial warnings. These interpretations weren't just folklore, they were tools for survival. When crops failed or wars broke out after an eclipse, the event was remembered and feared. Over time, this created a kind of collective mythology, passed down through stories, symbols, and superstitions. Even in modern societies, these impressions linger. Many people instinctively stop to stare when the moon turns red. Others feel unsettled or awestruck, even if they don't know why. Some psychologists describe this as archetypal resonance. The sheer idea that certain symbols, like the red moon, hold universal meaning that transcends language or culture. Rituals and modern meaning. Despite living in a scientifically advanced age, many people still turn to rituals, intentions, or spiritual practices during a blood moon. In contemporary spiritual communities, the red moon is often seen as a time of release and renewal. Online forums fill with messages about letting go, casting off old energy, or setting new goals under the crimson sky. Whether or not one believes in energy or magic, the ritual creates meaning, and meaning is crucial for psychological well-being. Anthropologists have noted that lunar eclipses continue to strengthen group identity, whether in religious ceremonies, community viewings, or shared online experiences. In a disconnected world, staring up at the same moon connects people across time zones and cultures. It becomes a shared narrative, a reminder that despite our digital lives, we are still part of something ancient, beautiful, and unknown, the red moon in dreams and art. The red moon also appears frequently in dreams, paintings, literature, and film, often symbolizing change, foreboding, or hidden truth. In Jungian psychology, the moon is a powerful archetype tied to the unconscious, the feminine, and the cyclical nature of time. A red moon in a dream may represent an approaching emotional event, a buried truth rising to the surface, or a moment of confrontation with the self. Artists and poets have long turned to lunar eclipses for inspiration. The shifting colours, the slow transformation, and the eerie stillness all contribute to a mythic sense of time slowing down, a portal into the inner world. Conclusion: a mirror for the mind even. With all our knowledge, the red moon retains its spellbinding mystery. It's more than a scientific event. It's a psychological mirror, one that reflects our hopes, fears, memories, and symbols. It teaches us that mystery doesn't vanish with explanation. Sometimes understanding deepens wonder. The blood moon remains a canvas on which we project our most intimate myths, whether through fear of monsters, or of prophecy, or quiet, private reflection under a sky that bleeds with ancient fire. Chapter 17. Celestial Timekeepers, Ancient Calendars, and the Red Moon. For thousands of years, humanity has sought to understand and predict the movements of the heavens. The red moon, a rare and dramatic celestial event, did not escape the keen eyes of ancient astronomers and timekeepers. Across continents and civilizations, people meticulously recorded eclipses and blood moons, weaving them into their calendars, rituals, and governance. In this chapter, we journey through the cultures of the Maya, Inca, Babylonian, and Chinese civilizations to uncover how they tracked the red moon and what meaning it held within their complex systems of timekeeping. The Maya, masters of lunar cycles. The Maya civilization of Central America developed one of the most sophisticated calendar systems in the ancient world. Their Tzolk'in, 260-day sacred calendar, and the Harb, 365-day solar calendar, worked in tandem with their observations of the moon. The Maya were keenly aware of lunar phases and eclipses, which they recorded in their codices and temple inscriptions. The Popol Vuh, a sacred text, mentions lunar events connected with gods and cosmic cycles. The blood moon, or red eclipse, was seen as a time of transformation and potential danger, signaling shifts in the balance between the natural and supernatural. Worlds. Priests and astronomers could predict lunar eclipses with remarkable accuracy, using devices like the Caracol Observatory at Chichen Itza. These predictions influenced agriculture, ritual sacrifice, and even political power, as rulers claimed divine favor by controlling celestial knowledge. The Inca, cosmic harmony, and lunar omens. The high Andes. The Inca viewed the moon as a powerful deity, Mamaquilla, goddess of the night, marriage, and feminine cycles. The moon's phases marked important times for farming and festivals. When the moon turned blood red during an eclipse, it was often interpreted as Mamaquilla being wounded or attacked by the god of war, Apu Inti, or other celestial forces. This event was a call for the community to perform rituals to restore cosmic balance and protect the harmony of the world. The Inca did not have a written calendar like the Maya, but used quipus, knotted strings, to record data and historical events. Oral tradition kept track of eclipses and their meanings, influencing decisions about warfare, planting seasons, and social ceremonies. The Babylonians, eclipse omens and divine messages. The Babylonians of Mesopotamia were pioneers in astronomy and astrology. They meticulously observed the sky and developed methods to predict eclipses using the Saros cycle, an 18-year period after which eclipses repeat. For them, lunar eclipses were omens, signs from the gods indicating favour or wrath. The blood moon often signified danger to the king or the realm, prompting priests to perform elaborate rituals to avert disaster. Cuneiform tablets from Babylon detail lists of eclipses, their characteristics, and associated portents. These records influenced political decisions and were deeply intertwined with Babylonian mythology and religion. The Chinese, calendar masters and celestial dragons. Chinese astronomers maintained detailed records of lunar eclipses for millennia. They believed eclipses occurred when a celestial dragon swallowed the moon, causing it to darken and sometimes turn red. To combat this, ancient Chinese people would bang drums, shoot arrows, and shout to scare the dragon away. Eclipses were carefully noted in imperial records, as they were considered heavenly warnings about the emperor's virtue and the state of the empire. The Chinese lunar calendar integrated these observations, and eclipses were used to validate the emperor's mandate from heaven. Predictions of eclipses required precise astronomical calculations, which were among the highest scholarly achievements. Impact on society and decision-making. Across these cultures, the red moon was not merely a scientific curiosity. It was a powerful symbol affecting everything from agriculture and religion to political legitimacy and warfare. Rulers used eclipse predictions to assert control, while priests interpreted the events to guide communities through crises. The anticipation and interpretation of blood moons were deeply embedded in social order, reflecting humanity's desire to find meaning and control in the cosmos. The legacy of ancient lunar wisdom. Though modern science has demystified the red moon, the ancient legacy of lunar observation survives. Many indigenous cultures still honor lunar events, and contemporary astronomy owes much to these early sky watchers. Their calendars and celestial knowledge remind us that humanity's story is forever linked to the dance of the stars and the changing face of the moon, red, white, or full. Chapter 18. The Red Moon Prophecy. Legends and Social Movements. The blood moon has not only fascinated ancient astronomers and inspired rituals, but it has also been the centerpiece of countless prophecies and legends throughout history. In many societies, the red moon signaled apocalyptic warnings, spiritual awakenings, or transformative social movements. This chapter explores some of the most enduring and influential red moon prophecies, and how they have shaped societies, religions, and political actions. The biblical blood moon prophecies. In Judeo-Christian tradition, the red moon is often linked to apocalyptic visions in texts such as the Book of Joel and the Book of Revelation. Phrases like, "The moon will turn to blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes," have fueled centuries of millennial expectations and doomsday predictions. Throughout history, groups of believers have looked to lunar eclipses as signs that the end times were near. This has sparked waves of religious fervor, mass gatherings, and sometimes fear-driven behaviors. In recent decades, modern evangelical communities have revived interest in blood moon prophecies, interpreting lunar eclipses as coded messages or divine signals for political and spiritual events, the Hopi and other indigenous red moon legends. The Hopi tribe of North America holds a rich oral tradition connecting the red moon with cycles of renewal and warning. Their prophecies often link eclipses with times of great change, urging balance and respect for the Earth. Similarly, indigenous groups worldwide have woven red moon imagery into their spiritual narratives, emphasizing connection to nature and cosmic cycles rather than fear. Revolutionary movements and the red moon. Some historical revolutions and uprisings have been symbolically tied to red moons. Leaders and visionaries have used the imagery of a blood-red moon to inspire followers, representing the fall of old regimes or the dawn of new eras. For example, during the 17th century English Civil War, celestial phenomena like eclipses were seen as omens influencing political propaganda. In modern times, protest movements have occasionally harnessed the red moon symbolism to evoke urgency and transformation, demonstrating the continuing power of lunar imagery in social consciousness. Modern-day red moon. Mysticism today, new spiritual movements embrace the red moon as a potent symbol for personal transformation, healing, and cosmic connection. The Internet has amplified these beliefs, spreading rituals, meditations, and celebrations worldwide. While some dismiss these as superstition, the psychological and communal power of these movements is undeniable. They offer meaning, structure, and shared experience in an often fragmented modern world. Conclusion. The prophecy lives on. Whether as divine warning, call to action, or spiritual symbol, the red moon prophecy continues to influence humanity. It connects ancient pasts with present hopes and fears, reminding us that the sky above is always a canvas for our deepest stories. Chapter 19. Modern Astronomy and the Ongoing Mysteries of the Red Moon. Despite centuries of study, the red moon continues to surprise scientists with subtle mysteries and spectacular displays. Modern astronomy has unraveled the fundamental causes of the blood moon, but new research keeps revealing layers of complexity in this timeless phenomenon. The science behind the red moon. Revisited at its core, a blood moon occurs during a total lunar eclipse, when Earth blocks direct sunlight from reaching the moon. However, sunlight passing through Earth's atmosphere bends and scatters, filtering out most blue light and casting a reddish glow onto the moon's surface. This reddish color can vary dramatically depending on Earth's atmospheric conditions, such as volcanic eruptions, dust storms, or pollution, making each blood moon uniquely hued. Atmospheric influence and researchy scientists study how phenomena like volcanic ash or wildfires influence the color and brightness of the blood moon. For example, the 1991 eruption of Mount Pinatubo caused notably dark eclipses for years. By monitoring these changes, astronomers gain insights not only about the moon, but also about Earth's atmospheric health and composition. Advances in lunar observation. Thanks to space probes and lunar satellites, astronomers now study the moon's surface in unprecedented detail during eclipses. These observations help understand how the moon's regolith, surface dust, interacts with sunlight, affecting the eclipse's appearance. Furthermore, scientists investigate subtle changes in the moon's temperature and exosphere during eclipses, shedding light on lunar geology and solar radiation effects. Ongoing mysteries and future exploration. Despite our knowledge, some aspects of the red moon remain puzzling. Variations in hue, intensity, and even slight changes in the moon's orbit during eclipses inspire ongoing research. Upcoming missions and telescopes aim to monitor lunar eclipses continuously, potentially unlocking new understanding of Earth-Moon interactions, atmospheric science, and even climate change indicators. The red moon as a bridge between science and wonder modern astronomy exemplifies how scientific explanation does not diminish wonder, but deepens it. The blood moon, once feared as an omen, is now a celestial spectacle inviting curiosity and awe. It connects us to the universe, reminding humanity that even in the age of data and technology, the night sky still holds mysteries that inspire imagination and discovery. Reflections on the red moon, mystery, meaning, and the cosmos. As we reach the end of this journey into the true origins of the red moon, we find ourselves standing at the crossroads of science, history, and myth. The blood moon has been many things: a cosmic phenomenon, a celestial clock, a symbol of change, and a source of awe. Through ancient observatories and sacred texts, through legends and prophecies, and through the lens of modern science, we have glimpsed the layered meanings humans have found in the red moon's glow. It is a reminder that the cosmos is not just a vast, cold expanse, but a mirror reflecting our fears, hopes, and curiosity. The red moon teaches us about the power of observation and imagination, and about the delicate interplay between earth and sky. Though science explains the how, the red moon's magic lies in the why. The stories we tell and the connections we feel with something greater than ourselves. So next time the moon turns crimson in the night sky, take a moment to look up and remember the countless generations who watched in wonder before you, and the endless mysteries still waiting to be discovered. Thank you for listening to the true origins of the red moon explained. May your nights be filled with curiosity and peace under the ever-changing moon.